Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most transformative periods in all of human history, the Age of Exploration. And this wasn't just about, drawing a few new maps. No, this was an intense, high-stakes race between European superpowers to claim a piece of what they called the New World. And let me tell you, it changed everything. So, what kicked this all off? Why would entire kingdoms pour their fortunes into sailing off the edge of the known map? Getting to the bottom of that question, that's the key to unlocking this whole era. Well, the answer wasn't just one thing. It was this powerful mix of different forces, all pushing and pulling these explorers out from their shores and right across the huge, unknown Atlantic. You'll often hear historians boil it all down to three simple things. A powerful trifecta, really: gold, glory, and God. These three G's, working together, basically became the engine for this whole age of exploration. So let's break that down. Gold. That meant more than just piles of treasure. It was also about finding a faster sea route to Asia, for all those valuable spices. They were chasing this legendary Northwest Passage. Then you've got glory. That's just raw national pride, right? The drive to plant your flag on new land for your king and country. And finally, God. This was a really passionate mission for them, to spread Christianity all over the globe. Each one was a huge motivator on its own, but put them all together, they were practically unstoppable. So who were the main players in this race? First up to the starting line was Spain. And boy, were they driven by a fierce mix of religious passion and a serious hunger for wealth. Spain's big entrance onto the world stage really starts with a name you all know: Christopher Columbus, back in 1492. His mission? It was the perfect snapshot of what Spain was all about. Find a new path to Asia, claim any land you find for the Spanish crown, and, of course, spread the Catholic faith. And when it came to actually doing it, Spain's strategy was, well, it was aggressive. They claimed these massive chunks of territory, everything from Florida down to South America. But their relationship with the native people, it wasn't a partnership. It was pure conquest. Indigenous peoples were often enslaved or even killed. Their cultures were suppressed, and Christianity was forced upon them. Okay, so next up in the race, you've got England. Their game plan was a little different. It was less of a smash and grab for gold, and more about playing the long game, building power through owning land and creating permanent settlements. So by the end of the 1500s, England is finally making its move. You have explorers like Sir Humphrey Gilbert setting sail. And yeah, they wanted land and wealth like everyone else, but they were also running on this new economic idea called mercantilism. The whole idea behind it was pretty simple. Colonies exist for one reason, and one reason only: to make the mother country rich. And that focus on permanent colonies, it really shaped everything they did. They claimed the whole eastern coast of North America, and their relationship with Native Americans tells a pretty revealing story. At first, the settlers absolutely relied on the local tribes just to survive. But as the colonies grew and expanded, that dependence soured into conflict, pushing people off their land and ultimately just taking it. All right, let's bring in two other key players: France and the Netherlands. Now, for these guys, the New World wasn't so much about conquest or even settlement. For them, it was all about business. So take France, for example. Led by explorers like Samuel de Champlain, they figured out their gold wasn't going to be found in a mine. Nope. It was in the super profitable fur trade. And that one simple fact completely changed their entire approach to North America. And wow, what a different approach it was. The French claimed this huge inland territory, right? But to make the fur trade successful, you can't just go in and conquer everybody. You have to cooperate. So French traders actually lived with native tribes. They learned their languages, they intermarried, and they built these really complex trade partnerships. Their whole strategy was built on mutual interest, not on domination. Okay, and don't forget the Netherlands. They jumped into the race too, sending out explorer Henry Hudson. And his main goal, just like almost everyone else, was to find that mythical shortcut to Asia and its super valuable spice markets. But you know what? They pivoted fast. They realized there were huge opportunities for trade right where they landed. The Dutch set up a major trading hub right along the Hudson River, what would one day become New York. Now, at first, their relationships with the native peoples were all about friendly trade. But kind of like the English, once they started focusing on settlement and land, that friendship soured and eventually turned to conflict. Okay, so let's zoom out. You've got four major European powers.
They all have different goals, different ways of doing things, and they're all claiming different pieces of land. What do you think happens when you stick them all on the same continent? Yeah, you get a collision course.
It's kind of ironic when you think about it. The original goal was so simple, right? Just find a clean path through Asia, a single line on a map. The reality, though? Oh, it was so much more messy. Because the reality, by the time we get to the early 1600s, is this messy, crowded map of overlapping claims. You've got French territory bumping right up against the English colonies. You've got the Spanish down in the south. The Dutch are squeezed right in the middle. This wasn't a clear path anymore. It was a powder keg just waiting for a spark. Which leaves us with a really important question. What happens next? What kind of problems are going to pop up when you have four powerful empires all trying to set up shop in the same place at the same time? And this brings us to one last really big thought. Look, we all know how part of this story plays out, right? The United States is born from those British colonies. But what about everybody else? What happened to those huge territories that Spain, France, and the Netherlands claimed? Answering that question, well, that's a story that would define the next couple hundred years of conflicts and really shape the very world we live in today.